And we talk about this precession region and the thermal activation region. So this actually will be reflected by the switching speed. You write the cell. So if you want to lower your current density here, you can rely on the thermal activation region, but you need longer time to switch. So this is a symbol that this one, right? So if the current is not large enough, you will rotate this. You will rotate this. You will rotate this. But the current is not large enough. That means it's not definitely switching. So you need to wait enough time for some thermal noise, thermal noise, to flip this across that critical boundary. So that's why if you want to lower the current density, you have to wait longer time. And then if you want to push the switching very fast, then you have to apply a very large current, and then it will go to this precession region that will not depend on the thermal noise. You are going to pass large enough current, and then this one will definitely switch. But the cost is that you have to apply very large current. I think this is nonlinear here. So you can see the scale here, like above 10 nanoseconds, is like thermal switching, and below 10 nanoseconds, especially below 5 nanoseconds, then is this precession region. And here is the typical current density you see here is a few mega amp per centimeter square. This is mega amp per centimeter square. And you can calculate what is needed for a scaled device using this density, right? If you think about your device is, let's say your device is MTJ structure 20 nanometer by 20 nanometer, you can calculate if this is 5 mega amp per centimeter square. You can calculate what is the actual current you need to flip this. I didn't do this, but I think it's like tens of micron or even 100 micron. Tens of micron or 100 micron. You can do this by yourself. Yeah, we don't have time to do this simple calculation.
How are you sure that in the thermal activation region we will be able to flip the stage?
So the thermal activation region you can flip, but it's kind of stochastic. So we will talk about that later. That's related that is related to the let's say your error rate when you write, right? So what is the probability to make the write successful? So it's not 100%. And the retention, as we discussed, is due to this kind of energy barrier. So those two states is separated by the barrier. Because if you look at this kind of diagram, those two states, pointing up and pointing down, are at the lowest energy level. And pointing to this like horizontal is very difficult. It's not stable. It's like you are standing on top of the barrier, and then you will fall down easily. So those two states are separated by this barrier. And this barrier depends on the material you use. And this barrier is respect to the thermal energy, because thermally you may have the noise. And then this barrier, let's say the thermal stability factor, delta is defined as the barrier height divided by your kT, which is the thermal energy. And you know in the room temperature, this is about like 26 millivolts, or milli EV, electron volts. And a typical retention next, let's say 10-year requirements will need the delta, the stability factor, like 40 to 60. That means 40 to 60 times this 40 to 60. Or let's say times 50. 25 milli EV times 50 is like 1.25, right? Is that correct? 1.25 electron volts for the barrier. So as we discussed, there's a trade-off between the switching current and thermal stability. So a figure of merit will be the switching current density, maybe we use J, divided by the thermal stability factor. You will see this kind of trade-off. So sigma major, typically in this direction. So if you want high thermal stability, then that means the right current density is also high, because the barrier is high. So this is a general trade-off. Of course, you can change different composition of your magnetic material and then tune this a little bit. But overall, you will have this kind of trade-off fundamentally. So let's look at the scaling trend for the right current density. So this will relate to the cell layout. Can we achieve 6F squared? Because you need that transistor to drive the MTJ. And if the MTJ, let's say the JC, the current density, critical current density to right is this 4 megaamp per centimeter square. And this is the phasor size F. So you can use this one and multiply by the F square. You will get the actual current. Right? This is the density. This is the current per unit area. And then you times the area depending on the technology load. Times F square. You get the actual current in the unit microamp. And you see that at 90 nanometer, if your JC is 4 megaamp, so here you can see here this current is quite, let's say maybe 300, 400 microamp. This is large. But the good thing about STT-MRAM is that when you scale the technology node, that cross section, right, this cross section of this MTJ, this is F and F probably. So this cross section area reduce, then the current reduce. If you use the same material, then it will follow this line with the scaling. So here you see that if JC is 4 megaamp, and then if you scale to 22 nanometer, this will reduce to like maybe 20 or 30 F square. 20 or 30 microamp. At the same time, we use the dash line here to draw the transistor's drivability. That means the current you can deliver through the transistor. This is the saturation current. And you know the saturation current is proportional to what? W over L, right? So with the scaling of the feature size F, that means actually W is scaling. So the transistor current, let's say per transistor, actually the current is reduced. But here you can see that this MTJ, the current is proportional to this F square. This one is proportional to F. Okay. So the MTJ is proportional to F square, and that one is just linearly proportional to F. So actually MTJ scales faster than the transistor. So you see the dash line here has a, let's say, less slope. So that's a good news, because here you can see that at 22 nanometer, and let's look at here. if you keep the JC value the same, that means you don't change your material system. At 90 nanometer, you need the 10F, let's say W equals to 10, W over L equals to 10, to drive this MTJ. But by simply scale the technology node to 22 nanometer, you see that here. You just probably need just 3F to drive this MTJ. But of course, this 3F in the width will not give you 6F square, right? Still the transistor size may be like, the cell size may be like 16, 20 F square. But by scaling, this will help. Of course, if you want to really make the 6F square, you need to change your material stack and then really reduce the JC value, that is current density. That only depends on the material. That does not depend on your technology node. So you have to move those names vertically down. Then you can enable just W over L equals to 1 will work in that case. But that is challenging from the material, from the fabrication point of view. So any questions here?
Is there a current limit that a transistor can provide to the current that the MTJ needs? Is there scaling?
You mean is there a limit for transistor or for MTJ?
For MTJ, because during scaling, the current that transistor can provide will be also scaled, right?
But as we discussed, the MTJ scales faster than the transistor, right? From here. But still, today's MTJ, I think most of them are a few megaohm per centimeter square. So it's still somewhere here. We'll have to change the material system and then push down to here. So I think right now the problem is the transistor is not a big problem right now. Still, the MTJ itself needs to reduce the current density. But there's a trade-off as we discussed. If you reduce current density, that means it's easy to write, which means what? Easy to change the data. That means your data retention will not be good. So that's a fundamental trade-off. Okay, so here this is the bit error rate as we discussed due to the stochastical switching nature. This is drawn as a function of the write voltage, or you can think it's a write current because voltage and current are proportional. So you can see here, this is the bit error rate. That is a successful, or let's say the error rate, that is unsuccessful write, okay, probability. So it depends on the write voltage. If your voltage is small, that means current is small, then the probability to fail is so high. It's like definitely will not switch here. And then when you increase the voltage or increase the current, then the probability will decrease. And then this is the bit error rate. So depending on the pulse width, if you use longer pulse at the same voltage, you use longer pulse, you will decrease the error rate because this is due to the thermal switching, right? You with longer time, then you may have more chances by the thermal noise to flip. But this is not 100% guaranteed, so that's why still you need like ECC error correction. But depending on the voltage you apply, then you have different bit error rates, and then you can design the corresponding ECC scheme to recover this. Questions? Okay, so let's talk about some recent progress in the STT-MRAM field. So, I think in 2005 or 2006, when the STT-MRAM first introduced, it's based on this so-called in-plane MTJ structure. This is what we shown before. So in this structure, the magnetic orientation is in plane with this structure. So because this is a thin film and it's just horizontal like this. This is pinned layer, and you can have free layer pointing to the left and to the right. So this is what we have talked about so far. But actually, industry these days switch this structure to this one, so-called the perpendicular MTJ. So actually, the magnetic orientation for the pinned layer is pointing, for example, pointing up, and then the free layer you can change from pointing up and down. So we will discuss what's the advantage of this one. It's so-called perpendicular MTJ. So the reason is the perpendicular structure offers better scaling. So the idea here is that from the data retention point of view, you need some aspect ratio for the geometry for the MTJ structure. This is a side view of this one, and from the top view, actually, you don't want to make like a circle from the top view. You don't want to make the MTJ like this. You want to make MTJ maybe some, let's say you don't want to have a square. You want some rectangle structure. The reason is that you want to introduce this geometry effect to this structure to help the magnetic orientation, in this case pointing to the up from the top view. If it's like square, then this one is easy to change the orientation because it does not have preference right from the center. If it's symmetric everywhere, then this arrow may point into any location. Not good for the data retention. So from the geometry point of view, you want to introduce this kind of geometry and define so-called the hard axis and the easy axis. So basically to create this asymmetry in the magnetic orientations. So then it will help stabilize the structure like this. So this is from the top view. Of course, then when you scale this technology node, you cannot have F and F, right? You cannot have this F and F. So you have to have F and 2F, even F and 3F. This is from the top view, from the layout top view. So this is not good for scaling. So what you want to do is to make this perpendicular MTJ, where this schematic not good. Actually, you want to have something from the side view. You want something like this. So from the side view, you will have this kind of rectangle. But from the top view, it's F and F. So you want basically your magnet standing up and down instead of left and right. So this can achieve the same kind of data retention because you have asymmetry from the pointing up and pointing down perspective. But from the layout perspective, from top view, then your area is just F and F, right? So this will offer you better scalability. So that's why industry switch to this perpendicular MTJ these days to allow the better scalability. Question?
How can you change the optical magnetic direction only up and down instead of left and right? If you only have two directions of current, you can control.
So I think this is purely by the material. I mean the deposition technique. When you grow the material, you want to have this kind of magnetic direction, like this.
So it's already built in during the.
It's built in. Yeah, it's built in.
What company is doing this?
Oh, we'll talk about that in a minute. So you are tired of those technical, physical stuff. Oh, we are running out of time. Oh, I'll be quick. So those are many challenges. I will skip that. And you talk about the companies. So here are some test chips from a startup company called Grandis and acquired by Samsung later. So this is some demonstration, 256 kilobit chip at 90 nanometer CMOS, and you can read the specs here. And this is 1T1R. And here are the distribution of the resistance of the anti-parallel and parallel states. You can see the on-off ratio and the distribution in terms of sigma. And this is some later chip by Toshiba, 64 megabit STT-MRAM, and you can read all the specs here. So I will skip the details. And then endurance measured to be very good, at least for those prototype chips. Recent Intel data show only like 10 to the power 6 because Intel is very scaled technology, like 22 nanometer node. And this is some old history for the STT-MRAM development. Many companies, startups, interested in this. And I will not read each of them. You can search by yourself. And the applications, we talk about embedded applications, but also there are some interest to use STT-MRAM to replace the NAS level cache, as we discussed for the L3 or L4 cache to replace the SRAM. And because at the same technology node, this one is denser than the SRAM, so you can have larger capacity. And also this one is non-volatile. If you don't use that cache, you can power off, and your data is still there when you power on. So this is very good for your like smartphone, those no power applications. So I will skip the summary, but I just want to talk about the state of the art. So many foundries these days are working on the STT-MRAM, and the fabrication process is mature. Actually, some of the foundries already offer the product. You can use that. So for example, Samsung TSMC has like 28 nanometer STT-MRAM, and Global Foundry as well, and IBM. And I missed one here, which is this year, Intel reported the 22 nanometer STT-MRAM process. So all the major players in the field have the STT-MRAM process available these days. This one is much more, let's say, available than other technology. For example, we talk about the RRAM, and the RRAM, as we discussed, only like TSMC and Intel have the process available at 22 nanometer or 40 nanometer. So you can say that STT-MRAM, there are more manufacturers into this business. So that's why this is regarded as one of more promising technology from the foundry's point of view. Okay, so that's it.